de nuestras hermanas y hermanos en nuestros países. We refuse to sit in silence as we witness our children being tunneled and funneled through the school to prison pipeline. We refuse to sit in silence as we witness our children being funneled from the school to military pipeline. We refuse to sit in silence while we watch our sisters being raped. We refuse to sit in silence while they murder us, while they tell us to smile, and while they insist that we accommodate their masculine insecurities, sensibilities, and comfort zones. We make a commitment to ourselves and to each other, to our own and each other's liberation. This sisterhood is something that they have been trying to rob from us since the dawn of patriarchy. Adela Chacón Tax, presente.
Gabriela Calzada, presente. Briana Gallegos, presente. Berta Cáceres, presente. Vanessa Landines, presente. Cintia Castiniera, presente. Jennifer Ladd, presente. We will not forget. They will not allow us to forget our sisters. We must remember our sisters every day, and we will. We will fight for our sisters' liberation today, tomorrow, and until the end of time.
Thank you, Justice, for my sister. All right, next up, please give it up for Johanna from USC Students for Justice in Palestine.
Thank you all for marching with us today. Today I'm representing USC Students for Justice in Palestine. And would like to make a brief statement about our Palestinian sisters living under the Israeli occupation. Just like in the rest of the world, women and girls in Palestine are subject to a number of discriminatory laws and policies, as well as a prevailing culture of patriarchal domination, all of which stereotype their roles within society and their households. This is why we must support grassroots efforts of empowering women in Palestine. We cannot protect and ensure the rights of Palestinian women without addressing Israel's colonial enterprise. Palestinian feminist movements exist within the context of an ongoing occupation and Israeli colonization. The Palestinian woman is the mother of a martyr. The Palestinian woman is the wife of a prisoner. The Palestinian woman is the sister of a deported activist. Women suffer disproportionately from separation from their families, agricultural lands, water sources, and school. Palestinian women and girls face a myriad of intersecting planes of oppression based on gender, class, ethnicity, and their positions as a colonized people. The internal division between the Palestinian territories also make grassroots and national level coordination regarding women's rights nearly impossible. So we need to ask ourselves, how can we hold the burning torch for women's rights in Palestine without directly challenging Israel's occupation as an overarching structural factor in the question of gender equality? It is crucial that we promote the rejection of international aid that support the occupation and hinder the self-determination of the Palestinian people. The Palestinian women live under the militarized occupation and its oppressive practices against the people as a whole. Israeli aggressions against Palestinian women occur on all military, social, and religious levels. The occupation targets women when it forces them to deliver their babies and die from critical medical conditions at checkpoints. The occupation targets women when it attacks an open-air prison and kills 263 women in a matter of days. The occupation targets women when it issues decisions preventing women from entering an Al-Aqsa mosque. Without first tackling the need to end Israel's colonial enterprise and to advance the Palestinian right of return and self-determination, protecting and ensuring women's rights in Palestine will remain unachievable. Realizing gender equality in Palestine is inextricably connected to the achievement of the Palestinian human rights generally. It cannot be separated from the political reality of the occupation and the Palestinians' ongoing Nakba. As a Palestinian woman myself, I do not strive to speak for Palestinian women living under occupation, but instead strive to communicate and translate the struggle of my sisters and brothers to the international community. So let us make this an exchange of experience for the better good of women in Palestine and across the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Johanna. Thank you, USC students for Justice in Palestine. Next up, you are going to hear a very familiar voice. Please give it up for Margaret Prescott of Global Women's Strike.
Thank you, thank you. I'm so delighted to see all of you all out here, all of the young folks out here. I'm with Women of Color in the Global Women's Strike, and since 2000 we've been holding annual events to politicize International Women's Day once again, and I'm delighted to be here with a firm and all of the organizers. I'm also, as many of you know, host of Sojourner Truth on Pacifica Radio, KPFK 90.7 FM. I see some listeners in the house. And I'm also with the Black Coalition Fighting Back Serial Murders. And one reason I'm really happy to be on this bridge is that I'm an immigrant from Barbados. I live in East Los Angeles, okay? So we've got the whole international coming together, aren't we? And one of the key things that I like to go on about is the bridging divide between black and brown communities. You know, we've got an issue. We got an issue that we have to deal with because the powers that be have a real interest in keeping our communities together, separate, because that's the way they're going to keep us all down. And all of us know about the talk that goes on in our communities about each other. We know the talk that goes on in black communities about brown communities. And we also know back in our home countries and on the East Side and Latino communities, the kind of talk that goes on about black folks. And we have got to be able to call it out. We've got to be able to stop it, because until we do, we're not going to be able to get women's liberation, much less the liberation of the planet. I just want to quickly give an example. The California prisoners did a hunger strike a couple of years ago that began 30,000 strong. They did it from behind bars. What is our excuse for those of us who are here on the street? It was the largest hunger strike in the history of the United States, and I'll tell you how they did it. The black prisoners, the Latino prisoners, the Native American prisoners, the white prisoners signed an agreement to end racial hostilities, and it was on that basis that they were able to build that hunger strike, and they have charged those of us on the outside to come back in our communities and find the ways to build the bridges across the divides among us. That's what we gotta do. Today, I'm delighted that there's a focus on violence against women, because back before a number of you in this audience were born, back in 1986, I founded the Black Coalition Fighting Back Serial Murders because of the serial murders of black women in South Los Angeles that nobody gave a damn about. The women were dehumanized. They're referred to as a bunch of crackhead hoes. So who gives a damn about them? And it took until now that we're finally beginning to get some attention and some justice, but that is 30 years of my life before some of you were born. And I want to call the names of some of the women who have been murdered. Valerie McCorvey, Princess Bartholomew, she was 15 years old. Mary Lowe, Lucretia Jefferson, Janisha Peters, Henrietta Wright, Deborah Jackson, Bernita Sparks, Barbara Ware, Alicia Alexander. They are but a few of over 200 black women who are missing in a 40-mile radius in South Los Angeles. 100 of them thought to be victims of a serial murderer. And how many of y'all know about it? Much less the nation, much less the world. Our lives have been dehumanized. We're not going to stand for any longer. We are asking that you join with us down in South LA, we're having a vigil on behalf of the women and their families next Sunday on the corner of Crenshaw and Slauson. We have to fight our way to each other, because when Latino sex workers are killed out in Santa Ana, their lives were also devalued. And I want to say that what we do with our own bodies as women, that is our business. It's not the business of the police. It is not the business of law enforcement. We're not going to be deported. And the fastest growing population of people going to prison today are mothers or single mothers. And on trafficking, you know, there are a lot of laws on the books on trafficking already. We don't need new laws for Interpol and the rest of them, but I want to point in this direction, because right here in East LA, at Edelman Children's Court, there's trafficking of black and brown children that go on each and every day, and we better pay some attention to it. Because those children are taken from their mothers, because the mothers are poor. They're put into foster care and up for adoption with strangers. They are victims to sexual predators. They suffer from more PTSD than veterans returning from war. Let's pay attention. They're torturing our children. They're taking our children. This is trafficking that is going under the radar, and we got to do something about it. We have got to protect the next generation. So I just want to end it. I want to wrap it up by saying, you know, we have said, invest in caring, not killing. We have said we need pay equity in the global market, because we know the race to the bottom, and they go to Vietnam and China, in other words, to exploit our sisters and our brothers there. You know, we have also said we want a living wage for everybody, including mothers and other caregivers. We're redefining work. Most of us in the global south, and I'm from the global south, a little village in a small island, we work very hard, but we're not seen as productive because we're not part of the capitalist wage structure. But it is our work that's supporting the lifestyle of all of us living right here in Los Angeles, and I want my damn resources back. I don't know about you all, because